Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as ANdmadeco, here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today, I'm coming at you with another regular video, but I have quite a few finished objects, quite a few chunky knit hats. So we'll go through all of them, and we'll also go through some plans of things that I plan on working on this week. First, let's get started with what I'm currently wearing. I am wearing For Fox Sake. You can't pronounce that one wrong. And this is a pattern by Maxime Cyr, who is a part of Les Garçons Boutique. And he used Les Garçons Boutique DK, whereas I used the worsted weight, which is why my sweater is quite oversized. I knit the first size of this pattern for this, but I knit it with a needle size that's 2 sizes above what he suggests. So he suggests a US 5, a 3.75 millimeter needle, but I knit mine with a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle. And this is quite an old knit now. I've completed this in October of 2019, and that's the time where we first moved to the States. So I started this in Canada and I worked on it in Vancouver and Toronto, and then I finally finished it here in Seattle at the end of October in 2019. My husband just brought in some coffee, which is why there's suddenly a red mug next to me. But in terms of the sweater, this is probably the warmest sweater I own because I knit it with a worsted weight yarn and because there are some places in here where you have 3 color work. I don't think there are any places where you have 4, but there are definitely a lot of floats with 3. And the floats in this color work are quite long, and being from such a long time ago, I didn't really leave my floats long enough, and so there is some puckering on the shoulders and such. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but on the chest and just around, it seems fine. A lot of it did block out, but I wished I left slightly longer floats, and I didn't catch my floats a ton in this sweater, but I did catch it in some places. So I think there are some places where you can kind of tell that I caught my floats, but also it hasn't been bothering me too much, so I just left it as is. I think if you are comfortable with color work and you like this sweater pattern, then I would definitely recommend it. And I would recommend that you actually use a ladder back jacquard method with it for your floats because there are so many. But with there being 3 color work in some of these places, it might get a little complicated. I would suggest doing ladder back jacquard for maybe the orange and then doing regular floats for something else, so you're not catching your floats all the time and having your yarn tangling while you're knitting. This sweater also holds great memories, not from when I just knit it, but where I bought the yarn. I bought it at Knit City, Vancouver in 2019, and I bought it at Wet Coast Wools, their boutique. They had Cascade come in, Cascade yarns from Seattle, so it was kind of a full circle moment. And then I needed some more yarn, so I went to Wet Coast Wools, and it was my first time visiting the shop in end of 2019, and that was really fun. I went to school for a little bit at UBC, and so I wish I was more into knitting when I was going to school because it was on my way to school. And I guess when I go back to Vancouver, I look forward to visiting Wet Coast Wools again. So the yarn that I used for this is Cascade 220, which is a worsted weight. And the main color is Charcoal Heather, the darker gray. And the orange is Bright Orange, blue is Navy Blue, and the light gray is Aspen Heather. So after I knit the charts for this, because I knew I was going up in needle sizes and I was using a worsted weight yarn, I knew that the body would be quite big even when I was knitting the first size. I would say that with the positive ease, this has come out to a size 3 to 4 in terms of positive ease. And so because I didn't want the whole sweater to be very big, I did make some modifications in that I knit 2 together to make a really dramatic cuff and did really long ribbing for the cuffs. And I did the same thing on the body where I wanted it to dramatically cinch in. And so there is a long 2x2 body, and I did the bind off. So the sweater hasn't gotten as much wear as I would have wanted to because I made the bind off a little too tight. I didn't use Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off because it is a 2x2 rib. I think I just bind it off in pattern. And so because I did that, it wasn't stretchy and I couldn't really get it over my shoulders or over my chest area for a couple of years. So I'm really happy that it fits again, but I would probably go back and undo it when I have time, not today, but when it starts bothering me again. I think that right now it fits really well. I love how it cinches in at the waist. I do like that the sweater has a more feminine fit at the bottom. So I'm really happy with how the sweater fits now. I think that the neckline at the back does drop a little bit because there are no short rows just before you start the color work. But I know that Max also changed some of the pattern and he did update it not too long ago in the past year. And so if you are interested in this pattern, I definitely check it out. It's really well written, as are all of his patterns, and I really do love the motif. I think it's very cute, and this is, I think, the first pattern that drew me really to Max Sincere as a garment designer, and I'm so happy that it did because I found some really great designs of his. The original pattern is designed for a bust circumference of 32 inches to 64 inches, and that's for the finished garment, and so it really depends on the amount of positive ease you'd like for the size you knit. Again, I knit a size 1, but I did go up 2 needle sizes, and I used a worsted weight instead of a DK weight, so I made so many modifications in the sweater that I wouldn't know how it would actually fit compared to if you were knitting it with the recommended yarn and the recommended needle size with the recommended gauge. But I really have to say that I love the motif and I really enjoy how my sweater fits on my body. So I would definitely recommend looking into it if you are interested in this pattern, just being aware that there are long floats and that you would have to do quite a few rows of 3 color work. Let's move right into finished objects because I have 7 finished objects to show you this week. I knit 6 chunky bulky beanies as well as 1 Sophie scarf, and so they aren't a lot in terms of, it's not like I finished 7 garments, but it did take me the full week and I'd like to go through them with you. So last week I said that I wanted to knit a Sophie scarf with Cardiff cashmere and send it to a friend, and that's exactly what I did. I bought the Cardiff Cashmere Classic in 516 Narrow from the Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, and I knit the Sophie scarf, and I've since sent it to my friend because her birthday was this past Thursday, and so I hope that she likes it and I hope that she's received it. I'm not sure yet because she doesn't watch my videos, I think, so it'll still be a surprise for her. And the Sophie scarf, I knitted exactly to pattern, except I stopped increasing at 23 stitches and I just continued with that 23 stitch length until I reached a point where I knew I would be using up half my yarn. And then I decreased and that's it. My friend lives in New York. I know she's a lot more fashionable than I am, and so I hope that she'll be able to get some use out of it. The Cardiff cashmere is so nice to knit with. All I have is this tag. It does come with 112 meters to 25 grams, and it is quite expensive at around $30 for the 25-gram ball, but it does go a long way and it's quite lofty. So normally I would say if it's around 440 meters for 100 grams, that would be a fingering weight, but this was definitely a sport weight. And Emily, who owns Tea Cozy, also says that she's knitted at a DK weight gauge and it's been really happy there too. So if you are considering knitting in Cardiff cashmere, then I would definitely recommend that you do so because it felt so luxurious, and I understand why so many people love it so much. When I think of Petite Knit having her poppy tee in the Cardiff Cashmere Hermes color, I understand why she's chosen to do it and how nice it must feel for her to wear it. My scarf did come out quite long, especially after blocking, especially because it is all garter stitch. And so I was able to wrap it around my neck comfortably twice, and I'm sure that my friend will also be able to do so, and I hope that she really enjoys it. Next 6 objects that I'd like to talk about are all hats, and I have them here. They're all super bulky / chunky weight hats, and I have made these as gifts. So this week all I did was gift knitting, and I'm very happy that I did so. But I have to say that after knitting all 6 hats, that my wrists do kind of feel the tension because it is quite bulky, and doing cabling on bulky needles with bulky weight yarn didn't really agree with my hands too much, I guess. And before we start talking about the hats, I'd like to show off this bag once again. This is by Rose and the Wren, and it's the bear, the black bear with the little scarf as well as the beanies. And I've been keeping my projects this week in this bag, and as I've finished it, I've taken it out, of course, but when I was working on it, I have been carrying around in this bag and I thought it was perfect, and I wanted to show it off once again, just in case you are interested in getting more project bags. Then I really think that Rose and the Wren does a great job of creating these. The first beanie I'd like to share is the Tiilda, and this is the fourth Tiilda that I've made now. And this is a pattern by Ning, and it is a free hat pattern. I modified it so that I cast on 60 stitches, and my mom liked the first version that I made for her so much that I just looked at the photo for that and copied it exactly. Except for this one, I did do a Italian cast on, so it's more of a tubular cast on. And I also didn't, other than that, I didn't make any other changes, but I did do the 15 rows of ribbing, as well as did the pattern exactly, did 6 repeats of the pattern until I started decreasing. And my mom really likes chunky beanies right now because she says that it makes her face look smaller with a thick brim. And she also likes the brim to be thick this way, so I needed to use a super bulky yarn. And she also likes the brimmer to be bigger. And so I thought that I would just create the one that she loved so much and she's gotten so many wears out of, and gift it to her again just because she's given hers to her friend. And she also likes to have a lot of positive ease at the crown. That's a look that she enjoys, so I decided to do it for this one, and I hope that she'll get as much use out of this as she did the other ones. I knit this in a US 11, which is a 8mm needle, and for this I used Cascade Lana Grande in the color Ecru. And this particular hat took 1.75 skeins of this, and this comes in 100 grams and it's 80 meters for 100 grams. My next finished object I'd like to share is a Twisted Affair, and this is also a free hat pattern. I knit this with 64 stitches with a cast on, but because it is a 2x2 rib, I just did a long tail cast on, did 1 row just flat, and then joined in the rounds so that you will get the other side when it flips up. And I think this side is just cleaner than this side for when the hat is actually on the person. This hat also does have some positive ease, just not as much as that Tiilda one that I just showed you. And for this, I follow the pattern, except I only did 5 ribbed rows in between each of the cables, just because I thought that it would look a little cuter, and I wasn't sure about my row gauge being able to fit as many of these cable patterns as I wanted to. For this hat, I used 10 grams less than I did for the Tiilda, so this took 1.65 skeins of the same Cascade Lana Grande and Ecru, and I am so happy with how this one turned out. I hope that she'll also enjoy this hat. My next beanie is 2x2 by ANdmadeco, and this one is for my dad. I cast on 64 stitches for this, and I did the crown decreases as ANdmadeco writes in her pattern, and it's also a free pattern. I did the same thing where I did a long tail cast on, did 1 row flat, and then joined in, so you have this nice cast on, and 64 stitches on US 11 needles, which is 8mm, is quite large. And so if you don't have a very large head, I wouldn't recommend doing 64 stitches. I'd probably recommend either sizing down your needles or doing 56 stitches or even 60 stitches, and then doing decreases once on either side, but not on 2 other sides, just so that you can keep the count even for when you get further down your decreases. I really enjoy how this looks and fits, and I think that my dad will enjoy it as well, and it'll be the first hat that he has, because I haven't sent off my Viima or my other Tiilda, as these two are ones that I've already shown before in previous videos. This is another Tiilda as well as a Viima hat, and I haven't sent these yet, so I think my dad will also take this one if my mom doesn't take it from him. And the Tiilda hat that I've sent him before, my mom's taken it, and so they have quite a few chunky hats now, especially with the ones I'll show you as well. I have definitely become that person where, you know, when you visit your parents and you say, oh, I really like that, and then the next time you visit, they bought 20 more. I have become that person. And so because my mom likes these chunky hats, I have decided to knit her quite a few, and so that my dad would also get some. And Korea has quite harsh winters, and so I'm hoping that they'll be able to get good use out of it for future seasons as well. So I knit this in also Cascade Yarns Lana Grande in the color Gunmetal, and I used 1.5 skeins of this. So I have 50 grams left here since I only did buy 2 balls of this, and for the egg crew I bought 4 balls. I really do like how the Cascade Lana Grande feels, and my mom loves how it wears. She says it keeps her warm, it's very soft, and so I'm really glad that I bought these yarns and that they'll get some good use out of this. So my mom said that she gave away her Tiilda hat. I said, okay, I'll buy the same yarn so I can make you the exact same hat, since some of the other ones that I've made for her and that I've shown her, she didn't like just as much as the first one I made her. And so I bought that yarn from WIW. So the Cascade Yarns Lana Grande I bought from WIW, and that came very fast and everything. But then a couple days later, she said that she actually really likes the cobalt blue in my background and she'd like a hat in this color or something similar. And then I said, and at that point, my WIW order hadn't come in yet, but I had just gone to the fiber gallery, and so I had bought that pink yarn and made that hat, but that one also came out a little small, and so I decided then to go on a site called Linda Hobby, which sells drops yarn, because they have Drops Snow is also a super bulky weight, and I bought 4 of this color, which is 104 Cobalt Blue, because she wanted a cobalt blue hat. And I also bought 4 of the number 12, which is light blue, which I'll show you in just a bit. But this yarn is slightly thinner than the Cascade Grande, so this is 50 grams and 50 meters, whereas the Cascade Lana Grande would come out to 40 grams or 50 grams and 40 meters. So it's around 20% thicker. So all that to say, I made another twisted fair for my mom, and for this one I cast on 72 stitches on a US 10, which is a 6mm needle, and I followed the pattern pretty much exactly for this one. I think I did one less cable repeat just because it was getting quite long, and when I tested it on, it is quite tight, so I think I should have gone up to 80 stitches instead of 72 for this, and have been fine, but I wasn't sure on this more bulky yarn, so I hope that she has a friend she can give this to, and that, or she can wear it. It does fit, it's just quite tight. So I think that the next time I make this hat, I'll definitely, with this yarn, I will definitely do it on 80 stitches. And once I give it to her, if she does say that she really likes this color and she likes the pattern, but she wants it to be slightly larger, then that's when I'll go ahead and buy more yarn. Right now, I'm not inclined to make any more bulky weight hats or super bulky weight hats just because my wrists are kind of bothering me from knitting all of these. So that one took around 2.75 skeins of yarn. And then afterwards, I cast on this. This is the Drop Snow in 12 light blue. It's not really a light blue. It's more of a periwinkle that leans more blue than purple. And I knit the Viima Beanie, which is the second Viima Beanie that I've knit. The first one I've shown you in 2 weeks ago in the white color, and for this it's just a 1x1 rib. I also didn't do any specific type of cast on for this. I just did a long tail cast on. I didn't do the Italian tubular cast on just because I didn't want it to flare out, because I thought that that was what was happening on the Tiilda hat, and because I cast on 80 stitches, I also didn't want it to be too big, which I don't think it's too big for our family and our heads. So I think that's okay. That was an unwarranted worry on my part. I also knit this with a US 10, a 6mm needle, and it is quite long when you take it like this. And I'm thinking that my dad can wear this one, and so he'll at least have a couple of hats that he can wear. And the Viima Beanie is a pattern by Veera Välimäki, and I really enjoyed knitting this as well. So all of the hats that I've talked about so far are free patterns, and the next one I'll show you is a paid pattern, and this is a pattern that I've test knitted, and this is Cassia Hat by Alex, who's Skeinny Dippin. And I love this hat pattern, especially for babies and toddlers, because it's so cute. It's so cute when the ear flap goes over their ears and you tie it so that they can't take it off as easily. My daughter was a little more hesitant to wear this. My toddler was a little more hesitant to wear this hat than my baby, but when we were playing out in the snow, it was perfect. It snowed a bit here, so I was able to get really nice pictures and videos of everything, except for this hat because she wouldn't stay still. But this is made with, again, Drop Snow, and it's made with the light blue is, I think, around 1.2 0.25 skeins that are in here, as well as the cobalt blue, there's around 0.8 skeins. I did make a cobalt blue flap as well as a light blue flap, and it is twisting, I think just because of how I knit, but it should block out. I haven't blocked this yet because I just finished it yesterday and it was snowing and I wanted to get pictures and everything, and I wanted her to wear it right away. It does fit her, except I do keep the brim down so that she's able to cover more of her face and her ears. It's completely my fault for not knitting this part long enough. I didn't have a ruler, so I didn't knit the body of the hat long enough before I added the brim. The increases are really nice, and you start it from top down. Again, this is the Cassia Hat. And for this one, I used the US 10.5, which is a 6.5 millimeter needle. And I'm really happy with the density and the gauge of this. The thing about knitting with bulky weight yarn is that it doesn't go very far. And so this brim was one ball of that drop snow. So this pattern is recommended to knit at a 5.5 millimeter gauge. So I did go up 2 needle sizes up to a 6.5 millimeter gauge. Being knit top down is easier to modify rather than knitting from bottom up and then having it be too tight like my Twisted Affair was, or too loose. I think it's really nice that it is knit top down, and I do really like how Alex writes her patterns. So those are all of my finished objects for this week, and I'm so happy that we have a lot of snow this week, so I was able to get really pretty pictures in these hats. Although when I was taking it on and off, sometimes I think the hat didn't look completely correct because I wasn't looking at a mirror as I was adjusting. I was just putting it on and then taking a photo and taking it off and then putting the other one on and so on. And so I hope you'll excuse if some of the beanies don't fit exactly as they would if you are to look in a mirror and adjust how the hat fits your head. So making all of those objects meant that I didn't really have time or energy to work on anything else, but I did just started on the anemone sweater, and it is knit bottom up. So I did cast on and I'm knitting the ribbing. It's a 2x2 ribbing, and this is knit with Knitting for Olive merino as well as soft silk mohair, and both of these are in the color wheat. I'm excited to get some progress on it this week. This week I want to knit on smaller needles and have some progress on objects that I'd really like to make. And so this is one of the objects that I hope to get some progress on. And I also signed up for a test knit this week, which I got into, which I'm super excited about. And it will be knit with Kelbourne Woolen's Mojave. So I got this color in Cactus Green, and it will be more of a summer garment. I'm very excited for this, but it's something that I cannot share until the designer releases it. So I will let you know when I am able to, but I wanted to share this yarn because it's so beautiful. I'm so excited that I can finally work with something Kelbourne Woolens. I have the Germantown Bulky, and I bought Scout as well as Camper, and so I have quite a few of the Kelbourne Woolens lines now, but Mojave is the one that I just recently bought, and it's the one that I'll work on with first. But this is for 60% cotton, 40% linen. It's 50 grams and 185 yards. And the project I'm working on, I think for my size, only requires 2 of these, but I bought 3 just in case. I cannot describe how happy I am to be working on objects where I'm using 4mm needles and 3.5mm needles, so US 6s, in that US 4 to 6 range. I think that's my happy spot, other than when I'm working with socks, but definitely I enjoy working with bulky weight yarn once in a while, but I think this past week I kind of overdid it, and so I'm really looking forward to staying in this range and letting my wrists get some rest. Another test knit that I got into that I signed up for that I can share is the Ning Beanie by Also Alex from Skeinny Dippin. And for that one, I'll be using this Lana Grossa Set of Surrey that I got last time in the color 16, and this color I think is called Cocky. And I'm going to be pairing it with this Explorer Knits and Fiber Earthy DK, and this was a part of their Leave No Trace collection, so I have no clue what the actual colorway is. But although that the yarn is slightly darker than the Set of Surrey, I think that the tones will pair really well together, and I'm excited to see how it knits up. And the Ning Beanie is also knit top down, so I'm also happy about that as well. I'm knitting the large size, And so we'll see how that one shows up. So for this week, I have no other acquisitions other than the Mojave yarn that I just showed you, as well as the Cashmere Classic, which I've already used in a project. And I also received the Drop Snow this week, but I've also used that in a project. So I'm very happy to be using the yarns that I get and also to be using some of the yarns that I've purchased recently. Popping in to say I'm in the middle of editing, but I also wanted to share how my husband's port jacket fits him, the one I finished last week. I know I promised him pictures and it was snowing, so we got some really nice pictures and videos. And so I'll share them while I'm talking. It fits him really well. He's already worn it a few times and I love how it looks on him. For this specific jacket, I think that we could have actually sized down even to a size 1. But I really enjoy that it gives him that oversized jacket look and he seems to like it. He's worn it, and so I would definitely recommend it. And this pattern, if you are looking into making a sweater for yourself or for a loved one. So that's it for everything that I've knit, as well as my plans for this coming week. I hope I didn't ramble on too long. I am so happy that we are having some snow here finally. I don't think that it will stick for very long because I can see it melting already, but a little bit is better than nothing. And thank you so much for watching. I am testing out a new mic, and so I hope that it does help with the sound quality. And if you are able to, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again. I will see you next week. Bye.